Welcome to Left Africa.
Imagine if an algorithm that was built in California but managed in Paris somehow became the ultimate authority on how your native language is spoken.
Right, like it literally gets to decide what's considered correct.
Exactly. Like a piece of code just decides what constitutes, proper phrasing in a dialect your family has spoken for generations.
Wow.
And it does this simply because that code powers the only banking system you can actually access.
It's a heavy thought.
It really is. Today, we are looking at a briefing dossier covering a single corporate appointment that is quietly triggering a multi-billion-dollar race to rewrite the digital DNA of an entire continent.
Yeah, the stakes are massive here.
So on June 24, 2026, the French multinational telecommunications giant Orange Group appointed Usman Javaid as their new group chief AI officer.
And, if you are sitting there wondering why you should care about a C-suite reshuffle in Paris, stick around.
Right, because Orange isn't just a European telecom player. They are an absolute dominant force across Africa.
Completely dominant.
Yeah. So we are taking a deep dive into how this one executive shift reveals this high-stakes battle for Africa's AI and digital infrastructure.
And the central tension we have to pull apart from this dossier is profound. I mean, we are watching a massive, aggressive AI rollout.
Yeah.
But the question is whether this deployment represents, genuine digital empowerment and inclusion for African citizens, or
if it's something else entirely.
Right. Or if we were watching the architecture of a new, highly sophisticated form of digital extraction being built in real time.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really understand what Orange is planning for Africa, we have to look at the philosophy behind this leadership change.
We do.
On June 24, Usman Javaid takes the reins, reporting directly to the Group Chief Technology and Innovation Officer, Bruno Zerbib.
Right.
But the real story is found when you compare Javaid to his predecessor, Steve Jarrett.
Oh, the contrast is fascinating.
It's night and day. Back in March 2026, just months before this shakeup, Jarrett was giving interviews outlining an incredibly cautious approach to AI.
Very cautious.
He basically viewed artificial intelligence as an operational efficiency lever.
Right. And in telecom, an operational efficiency lever means looking inward.
Uh-huh.
It is about using machine learning to predict when, say, a specific cellular tower might experience a hardware failure.
Or just routing customer service calls a few seconds faster to cut overhead, right?
Exactly. And Jarrett actively positioned Orange against what he called big tech extractivism.
Right. He actually used that term.
He did. He argued that because Orange had a regulated contractual relationship with his customers who were paying for phone service, the company had a distinct, more ethical lane.
Right. Compared to platforms that just vacuum up user data to sell targeted ads.
Yeah.
So under Jarrett, it sounds like Orange viewed AI as a wrench.
A wrench. Yeah, I like that.
It was a tool to fix their own plumbing, tighten up their networks, and just save some money internally. But then you look at Usman Javaid's resume.
Very different background.
Totally. He comes from Bain & Company, the massive global consulting firm. And before that, he was at Samba Nova Systems, which is a very aggressive AI hardware and software startup.
Right.
Javaid's explicit mandate from the Orange board is to accelerate and scale their AI initiatives.
They dropped the wrench?
They dropped the wrench entirely. Under Javaid, AI is a vacuum cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
It is an aggressive, product-driven technology designed to pull data and revenue up from the user base.
It's a huge pivot.
I mean, they are swapping out a reliable hybrid engine for a screaming Formula One engine while barreling down the highway.
It's fascinating here is the underlying economic reality driving that shift. That's what makes this dossier so compelling.
Right.
You have to ask why a legacy telecom company suddenly needs a Formula One engine.
Right. Why the sudden rush?
The answer is market saturation. If you look at Orange's traditional European markets, there is virtually zero room for growth.
Yeah, everybody already has a phone.
Exactly. The population is aging, smartphone penetration is maxed out, and the regulatory environment is incredibly strict and capital intensive.
So they look south.
Africa represents the exact opposite. It is Orange's true growth engine. You are looking at the world's youngest population.
A massive demographic dividend.
Right. And an economy that is leapfrogging traditional desktop internet entirely. They are digitizing rapidly with a mobile-first approach.
So a C-suite shift in Paris isn't actually about Europe at all. It is about unleashing this aggressive AI vacuum cleaner directly onto their most vital growth market.
Exactly. The African operations effectively subsidize the broader European transformation of the company.
Wow.
So the decisions made by Jade and his team are going to ripple out instantly across the continent because that is where the growth capital is being heavily directed.
Let's put some numbers to that scale, just so you can picture the footprint we were talking about.
It's massive.
Orange currently operates in 18 different African countries. We are talking West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, North Africa, and the Indian Ocean.
Right.
As of 2025, they have roughly 130 million mobile subscribers.
130 million?
Yeah. Their Middle East and Africa region, OMIA, generated about 5.5 billion euros in revenue in 2025 alone.
That's billion with a B.
Billion with a B. And with Javaid hitting the accelerator, Orange announced a 500 million euro AI, cloud, and cybersecurity expansion plan for this specific region in May 2026.
But the thing is, they are not building this infrastructure in-house.
Right. The dossier outlines this web of partnerships, and it just reads like a who's who of global tech titans.
They are essentially importing the engine parts from abroad.
Okay, let's go through them.
First, you have OpenAI and Meta. Orange is feeding anonymized customer interaction transcripts into OpenAI's architecture.
Wait, like millions of call center logs?
Millions of them. And they are using Meta's open source models to train large language models on African linguistic data.
Wow.
We're talking about languages largely ignored by Silicon Valley. Wolof, Bambara, Lingala, Swahili, and Malagasy.
It's huge.
It is. Then, in April 2026, they signed a massive deal with Nokia and NVIDIA to build what is called AI RAN. That's AI native radio access networks.
Okay, let's pause on AI RAN because the technical mechanism here is fascinating. When we hear radio access networks, it just sounds like telecom jargon, but it fundamentally changes how the internet physically reaches a phone.
Yeah, it completely changes the physical layer. Think about a traditional cell tower in a rural off-grid area.
Right.
It usually runs on a diesel generator, blasting a cellular signal at full power, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Even if no one is awake to use it.
Exactly. Regardless of how many people are actually using data, it is incredibly inefficient and expensive to maintain.
Right.
AI RAN takes NVIDIA's computing platforms and Nokia's software and acts like a highly sophisticated smart thermostat for that cell tower.
A smart thermostat.
Yeah. It learns the exact behavioral patterns of the local population. It knows that, say, a specific village only heavily uses data between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m.
Oh, that's clever.
Right. So during idle times, the AI automatically powers down the amplifiers and optimizes the radio spectrum, which drastically cuts the energy cost per megabyte.
Cheaper, more reliable internet for remote areas sounds like an absolute win.
It does.
But the physical hardware brings us to the third major partnership, which is where things get complicated.
Yeah, the Huawei deal.
Right. In March 2026, Orange partnered with Huawei to build next-generation AI-ready data centers starting in Morocco and the Ivory Coast.
And the PR spin surrounding this Huawei deal is heavily focused on sovereignty.
The pitch is that African data is staying on African soil. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to push back a bit on the cynicism here.
Okay, go ahead.
If the physical servers holding the data are located in Casablanca and Abidjan, instead of, a server farm in Virginia, doesn't that give those countries a baseline of digital sovereignty? Like, they physically control the buildings where their data lives.
Well, storing data locally is a step, sure, but physical location does not equal actual control over the data's utility. The source material breaks this down by describing the geopolitical reality as a three-way imperial tangle.
A three-way imperial tangle.
Yeah. Let's look at the actual stack of technology running inside those buildings in Morocco and the Ivory Coast.
Okay.
You have the physical servers and hardware, which are designed and backed by the Chinese state through Huawei.
Right.
You have the software, the AI models, and the computing power provided by American tech giants like OpenAI, Meta, and NVIDIA. And sitting on top of it all, governing how the entire system operates, is a European corporation, Orange, answering to shareholders in Paris.
So the raw data might be sitting in a building in Casablanca.
Yeah.
But the frameworks deciding how that data is analyzed, who profits from the AI models generated by it, and what cultural biases are baked into the software are being dictated by Shenzhen, Silicon Valley, and Paris.
Exactly. African capital, African engineering, and African policy are structurally absent from the decision-making table in these specific partnerships. The local citizens are providing the raw material, the language data, the financial transaction histories, the consumer market. But they have virtually no leverage over the resulting technology.
But take a look at the alternative. I mean, if Orange didn't bring in Huawei, NVIDIA, and OpenAI, would this infrastructure get built at all?
That's the million-dollar question.
The benefactor argument here is incredibly compelling. Orange is dropping €500 million into a region that Silicon Valley traditionally views as an afterthought.
Very true.
And the potential for life-changing applications is undeniably massive, particularly when you look at Orange Money.
Right. Orange Money is the cornerstone of their African operations.
Yeah.
It is a mobile financial services platform with over 70 million active monthly users processing billions of euros.
So imagine a farmer in rural Senegal.
Okay.
They might be entirely unbanked and they might be illiterate. A traditional smartphone banking app from a Western bank is completely useless to them.
Right. They can't read the interface.
Exactly. But because Orange is partnering with OpenAI to build models in Wolof or Bambara, that farmer will soon be able to do completely voice-based banking in their native dialect.
That's incredible.
They can use an AI agent to build a credit score based on their mobile top-up history, allowing them to secure a microloan for seeds. They get AI-driven fraud protection.
It's life-changing.
These aren't just corporate synergies. This is foundational financial inclusion for millions of people. Furthermore, these language models will be some of the very first comprehensive digital representations of major African languages, keeping them relevant in the AI age.
The scale of that inclusion is real, and it is transformative. But the dossier demands we look at the extractor argument with equal scrutiny.
Okay, let's look at it.
Every time that farmer uses voice banking to process a loan or send money to a relative, Orange takes a transaction fee.
Right.
The integration of AI is designed to exponentially expand the sheer volume and velocity of those microtransactions. And the profits from those AI-boosted fees do not stay in the local economy.
They go to Paris.
They flow directly back to Orange Group in Paris to satisfy European shareholders.
Right. And it's not just the financial extraction either. It is the intimate nature of the data being harvested to build these models.
This is a huge point.
Think about what is actually inside those millions of call center logs that Orange is feeding to OpenAI. It isn't just people asking to reset a password.
No, not at all.
In many of these regions, the telecom provider is the primary gateway for everything. You have people discussing medical bills, haggling over market prices, trying to resolve disputes over mobile money transfers.
It's their whole lives.
You are handing over the most intimate, mundane, and critical moments of daily life. You, as the user, provide the raw data, but you hold zero ownership over the incredibly valuable large language model that is built from your life. OpenAI and Orange own the intellectual property.
And the mechanism of that extraction also introduces a severe surveillance risk.
Yeah, the dual-use aspect.
Right. The dossier points out that the fundamental architecture of these AI systems is dual use. The exact same machine learning model that predicts network congestion by analyzing sudden spikes in localized mobile data usage can theoretically be used to monitor political speech.
Or predict the geographic formation of protest movements in real time.
Exactly.
And to impartially report the technical reality outlined in the dossier, this infrastructure is being laid down in some incredibly volatile political environment.
Yes.
Orange operates in several countries currently governed by military juntas or facing severe human rights criticisms.
Right.
We were talking about places like Cameroon, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Chad, Burkina Faso, and Mali.
Right.
Now, we aren't taking a stance on the internal politics of those nations. We are just conveying the source material. But the objective reality is that highly sophisticated surveillance-capable AI networks are being deeply embedded into regions where the rule of law is fragile.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that fragility is compounded by what the source calls regulatory asymmetry.
Regulatory asymmetry.
Yeah. When executives in Paris talk about sovereign AI in a European context, they are operating under the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR.
Right, which is notoriously strict.
It is one of the strictest privacy frameworks on the planet. European courts heavily penalize companies for data misuse, but in many of the African markets where Orange is aggressively scaling under Javaid's new mandate, that level of data protection enforcement simply does not exist.
The guardrails aren't there.
They just aren't there.
So Orange gets to operate a hyper-aggressive AI vacuum cleaner in a regulatory environment that European courts would immediately shut down back home.
Yep.
This regulatory vacuum bleeds directly into the culture, starting with something you might not immediately connect to AI linguistic sovereignty.
This is such a fascinating angle.
We touched on this earlier, but we need to dive deeper into how profound this is. Language is the DNA of a culture. Africa has over 2,000 distinct languages, and the vast majority of them have absolutely zero footprint in the digital world.
And because of that void, the first entities to successfully map these languages for artificial intelligence get to set the rules.
Right.
Orange and OpenAI are using telecom transcripts to train models in Bambara and Malagasy. But because those foreign corporations will own the final foundational models, they effectively become the gatekeepers of the language.
Think about the mechanics of that. If an AI voice assistant or an automated translation tool becomes the standard way people interact with businesses or government services, that algorithm dictates what correct grammar is.
Right.
It decides which regional slang is acceptable and which is invalid.
Yeah.
You have a corporate entity sitting in Paris, using software from San Francisco, mediating the cultural evolution of a language they have absolutely no cultural stake in.
You are outsourcing the living, breathing evolution of a society's communication to an algorithm designed to maximize telecom revenue.
It's wild.
And the stakes go beyond culture, directly into the livelihoods of the citizens providing that data. In their €500 million expansion plan, Orange made a very public commitment to train 10,000 African employees in AI-related skills by 2028.
I'm glad you brought that up because that 10,000 number requires serious context.
It really does.
Orange currently employs tens of thousands of Africans across customer service centers, retail storefronts, and field maintenance crews. Let's look at the actual mechanism of labor substitution here.
Okay.
If Orange deploys AI voice agents that speak absolutely flawless, localized dialects trained on the very voices of the call center workers currently employed in Abidjan or Dakar, the need for human operators plummets.
The same applies to the network technicians. If the AI RAN smart thermostat we discussed earlier can autonomously predict and resolve radio spectrum issues without dispatching a crew, you are displacing thousands of stable technical jobs.
So what does this all mean? If a corporation promises to train 10,000 people, and let's be realistic, AI skills training in a corporate environment could be as thin as a mandatory 2-hour workshop on using a new software dashboard.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, right. So they train 10,000 people, but their technology simultaneously automates 20,000 existing jobs. Isn't the net effect on African labor entirely negative?
This raises an important question. The wealth generated by the efficiency flows to the C-suite, while the local economy loses its middle-class technical jobs.
So why wouldn't these governments simply demand better terms? I mean, why not force Orange to guarantee job retention? Or demand joint ownership of the language models? Or implement strict data localization laws before allowing the 5G towers to go up?
The dossier explains that African states are caught in a brutal geopolitical bind. They cannot afford to say no.
Right.
Access to modern internet infrastructure is the foundational prerequisite for any modern economic growth. They desperately need the connectivity that Orange, Nokia, and Huawei provide.
So they have no leverage.
Very little. If a government regulator pushes back too aggressively on the terms of data extraction or demands a massive share of the AI patents, they risk those massive corporations simply pulling their capital and stalling the country's digital development entirely.
They are negotiating with a gun to their digital head.
Exactly. Furthermore, the continent lacks a unified legal front to negotiate from.
Right, it's fragmented.
The African Union does have a framework meant to address this. It is called the Malabo Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection.
Right.
It establishes continental standards for data privacy, but the dossier notes a glaring vulnerability. As of 2026, only 15 out of the 55 member states in the African Union have actually ratified it.
Barely over a quarter of the continent.
Without a binding, unified governance framework, regulators operate in silos. They have very limited technical capacity to audit these complex AI models and almost zero economic leverage to demand stricter guardrails from a multinational giant pulling in billions of euros.
Yeah.
The terms of this technological revolution are being dictated entirely by the supplier, not the consumer.
And that supplier just swapped out their cautious mechanic for a Formula One driver with a win-at-all-costs AI mandate.
Yep, Javaid.
It brings the entire briefing dossier into sharp focus. We started this deep dive looking at a single corporate appointment, Usman Javaid, stepping into the Chief AI Officer role on June 24, 2026.
Right.
But what we've discovered is that Javaid's arrival is the spark igniting a highly aggressive rollout of artificial intelligence across 18 nations. It is a rollout that perfectly encapsulates the defining technological conflict of this decade.
On one hand, you have the undeniable promise of unprecedented inclusion, voice banking for illiterate farmers, cheaper internet access for off-grid villages, and bringing ancient, complex local languages into the digital age.
But on the other hand, you have the mechanics of extraction.
Yeah.
The siphoning of intimate daily data, the displacement of thousands of local technical jobs, and the surrender of both linguistic and digital sovereignty to foreign corporations operating in a deliberate regulatory vacuum.
It is a fascinating high-stakes tightrope walk.
It really is. I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as we wrap up today. We have spent this entire deep dive focused on Orange and its operations in Africa.
Right.
But think about the broader implications of this playbook. If a massive, multinational telecommunications company succeeds in building the foundational AI architecture for an entire continent purely on its own corporate terms, without answering to bounding local regulation. Wait, let me rephrase that.
Without answering to local laws, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without answering to binding local laws, what precedent does that establish for the rest of the world?
That's the real question.
As AI integrates into the physical infrastructure of our daily lives, will the future of global technology be governed by local laws and democratic oversight? Or will it simply be governed by the user agreements written by the companies that own the cables? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.